Hello to everybody. Hello to everybody.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have somehow have a difficulty to open my Zoom. So I have now today I'm using my what you call the my iPad. So my okay, it's okay. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Okay. Great. So I hope you have a good Christmas and good rest during the New Year, because I remember New Year is very quiet in the in the UK. So hopefully you have good quiet New Year time. And yes, because when I started in late October, early November, we reopened our monastery. And since then, my sort of, life become very, very busy to restart the entire program. And at the same time, the many seminars which were organized through the online Zoom, and try to carry on those. That two things to clash, and so it was quite a busy time, and still, quite busy. And many of you sent me some greetings, Christmas greetings, and New Year greetings, some other emails. I haven't managed to answer to those, so my apologies, being very not responding to your greetings and well wishes emails, and very, very happy to come back and have this, though it is on the screen, but there is a little bit sense of real meeting, because there's a movement, and I can see the smiles and so forth. So it's really nice to do that. And yes, as I just said, the program, the monastery program restarted, and now we are in the middle of our winter debating session, which started 3 weeks ago, and it will continue another 10 days. And then after that, the annual exams are starting. So have lots of commitments to fulfill. And so, our program, I thought I will, do, to continue this Sunday program, but some Sundays are already booked for the monastery's event. So in the late evening debating sessions and so forth. So I can't do 1 or 2 sessions in this month, Sunday, but I will do some Sundays in February. And so happy to do that. And as you have seen, our this, maybe 6 or 7 Sundays, we will read through 8 Sundays, 6 or 7, 8 Sundays, we will do, we'll read Vajrasattva practice, which is, again, very, very nice to do that practice. And many of you not just know this practice, But I know many of you doing this practice for many years. But sometimes it is good to, come together and listen and read the text. So that's what I thought, and to do that. And also somebody from the previous group, asked, is there any possibility to go through the Vajrasattva practice? Then I thought, okay, that's a good idea. And so these 8 Sundays, we are going to do the Vajrasattva reading, practice reading. And the structure will be the same. The first part, we'll spend our time setting our motivation with the refuge and bodhicitta. And then, after that, few times, saying the Cherishing Mantra, though our main reading will be the Purification, but it is also useful and beautiful to say the Cherishing Mantra to enhance compassion to ourselves and to others. And it is also part of, to enhance single-pointed mind. Then after that, I will continue. Today I will start to read the text, and then at the end, say the 21 Tara prayers and short dedications. So that will be the same structure. Only different is the main topic, main activity will be reading the Vajrasattva text. That will be the our formula or structure. Okay. So we will start the gathering, and
we'll mute everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. So the our as we all know, from the teachings and also from our experiences, our mental states, plays big role in our daily activities, physical, verbal, and mental activities. The teachings, Buddha and the subsequent Buddhist teachers have, said many times the importance of, making sure to have the right intention or the motivation when we engage in events, whether they are routine activities or something special, unique activities. Making sure our mental states is in a good shape or sound or positive, or at least in a neutral, and here, it is some because our gathering is part of our spiritual, the journey, our spiritual cultivation, and therefore, our motivation should be, must be according to that that event. And here, that means having strong and clear body, the mind taking refuge, and mind to enlightenment, bodhicitta. Having a strong and a clear mind taking refuge will make our activity, not just spiritual activity, but it will make as a, what's called activity that will lead us, activity that will lead us towards, the full enlightenment, or towards full enlightenment, or the Buddhahood. And here our reading text is not just Buddhist text. It belongs to the Vajrayana practice, Vajrayana teaching. Then to really to do Vajrayana practice, there are two main ingredients must be there. The first one is bodhicitta, mindful enlightenment, and second one is a wisdom realizing emptiness. And here, the holding bodhicitta as a part of our one of the main motivation, intention is, if we do that, then our event, our activity will not just become Buddhist events or Buddhist activities, but also it will become, the Mahayana or Vajrayana, the event. So for that, we will hold these two minds through saying the 4 lines. First 2 lines, they help us to hold mind taking refuge. The first line, when we say Sanje Chötang Tsoki Chongnam, and recalling, remembering, holding the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha as a refuge objects. Sanje Chötang Tsoki Chongnam, Changju Parto Dani Gyapsuche. The second line, I really to recall, to think oneself as a spiritual seeker, as a seeking liberation, enlightenment. I take refuge, not just for a few days, not just few months, but until to experience the full enlightenment for the sake of all living creatures. So holding that. And as you know, we have talked a lot. To have this mind, to have strong and clear mind taking refuge in 3 jewels, there are 2 main causes. Those 2 main causes are, first, clearly and detailedly to understand nature of our unenlightened existence. All the different layers of predicaments being in samsara, being in this unenlightened existence. And that is one of the key factors to lead us to seek refuge. And the other, the cause is understanding the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. When these 2 causes are present within our mental continuum, then there's no doubt, we will have a strong and a clear mind taking refuge in 3 jewels. And that is something, we should always work to have these two courses as strong as possible, as clear as possible. When we read the Dharma text, when we think, contemplate Dharma points, the teachings, to try to bring back to these 2 points, understanding, have the clear understanding of the nature of samsara, relation to our own, this existence, and understanding of the qualities of the 3 jewels. Then the second last 2 lines, Dagi Jinsoji, Tsonamji, Dolapage, Sanje, Dovasho, thinking whatever virtues, whatever wholesome, no matter how small they are, practicing generosities, practicing ethics, and so forth, all those virtues that are due, that I've done in the past, that I'm doing now, that I'll do in the future, they all become the causes and conditions that to experience the full enlightenment, in order to work for the sake of all living beings. So that kind of altruistic mind. Again, here, many of us have received many times teachings on how to cultivate this mind, this beautiful, profound, altruistic mind, using some of those great techniques, taught by those great Indian and great Tibetan teachers. 7-point cause and effect, or equalizing and exchanging oneself with others. It is, as I shared with you before, it is very, very helpful and useful, very step by step, and following those teachings, and then working step, training our mind step by step. If we use a 7-point cause and effect, again, going the 7 steps, month by month, year by year, working step by step, then, cultivating bodhicitta, the altruistic mind. Or if you use, the other technique, equalizing and exchanging oneself with others, again, going through step by step, not just all the time staying in a form of aspiration, in a form of wish, but really, working step by step, then, what you call the cultivating bodhicitta. And quite often, His Holiness Dalai Lama used this Tibetan expression. His Tibetan expression is this: Shakye, Daje, Loje. Shak means day, Da means month, Lo means year. And at the end of each term, Shak, Ge, Da, Ge, Lo, Ge. Ge, Geka. Geka means interest. When you, put money in your bank, in our bank account, then hopefully our bank may pay some interest. So what he's saying here is, what we need in this kind of training, in this kind of, to really to transform our current, the mental states into this kind of beautiful mental state, the altruistic awakened mind. We have to work. We have to work, to increase this mind. So Shakye means day by day, there's some changes in cultivation of bodhicitta. Daje means month by month, there's some increase because the interest increased like that. And loje means year by year, there is an increase. So that is something which we need to do. Then we will see the benefits. We will see the benefits. So therefore, while we are in this kind of gathering, at the beginning to hold refuge, to hold bodhicitta is part of the training, but it is in a very short, just few minutes. But the main training, main work should be while we are in our individual practice, practice. So that is something important. So I will say the refuge and the bodhicitta lines 3 times. While saying that, hold those 2 minds as our main motivation. Sanje chedan tsonye chonamala chanjo pado dane janso dage jinso jebe tsonamala dola penje sanje jobara sanje chedan tsonye chonamala chanjo pado dane janso dage jinso jebe tsonamala dola penje sanje jobara sanje chedan tsoje chonamala chanjo pado dane janso dage jinso jebe tsonamala dola penje sanje jobara. With the mind taking refuge and bodhicitta as our main motivation. Now, with that motivation, we will say a few times together, Cherishing Mantra, while we verbally say the mantra, mentally hold a strong, great compassion towards all living creatures that include oneself, one's own loved ones, one's own family members, and to extend towards all living beings. Omane Oh, yeah. As historical Buddha, had taught many different teachings according to the listeners' mental dispositions, and also from many different angles. He had done that because our spiritual cultivation, spiritual development needs to look at from many different angles, from the many different ways. In here, I'm talking about this program during these 8 Sundays. We are going to talk from the point of view of purification, to purify. Some of our previous, like the previous text that we read was, cultivation of enhancing compassion based on, Cherishing, and one's own root teacher, in that case, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So, when we talk about, spiritual development, spiritual cultivation, it is initially very much, working with our thoughts, our emotions, sometimes very much deep, rooted our mental states, whether they are positive or negative, constructive or very destructive. Some are very much in the surface. So when we talk about cultivation of love, cultivation of bodhichitta, cultivation of wisdom realizing emptiness, cultivation of tolerance, forgiveness, those are very much talking about enhancing, our mental qualities, and sometimes going very much, depth of our heart, not just in the surface, bringing down to our heart level. No matter whatever what's going on the surface, but in the depth of our heart, there is a genuine sense of love, compassion, altruism. That kind of spiritual development is there when we talk about spiritual practice. And the same, on the other hand, when we talk about this program, we talk a lot about reducing within ourselves, within our mental, the habits, within our physical habits, within our verbal habits, those which are not helpful, not healthy to ourselves as well as to others. How to reduce those, how to minimize those. And not just at the surface, but also from some of those unhealthy thinking, unhealthy behaviors, unhealthy emotions, which are very much deep, very much ingrained in our psyche, and how to reduce them, how to uproot them from our psyche, from our mental state. And so that is here something, the spiritual development, spiritual enhancement, cultivation can be looked at from the many different angles, from the many different ways. And here I want to share with you a little bit, the yesterday and today, a whole day, morning starting 6:30 and finishing around 3 the Indian time. I have involved with a seminar, organized by two world spiritual traditions, Islam and the Buddhist, mainly based in Malaysia. It is organized last year, and with His Holiness, permission, and His Holiness says, I want to involve with that. And last year they organized in November, but November was very much, in Malaysia it was very difficult, and also in India. So they postponed until this weekend. But this weekend, yesterday, His Holiness couldn't join because in Dharamsala, they said this again, new variant is increasing. So he couldn't join, but they started. So yesterday, but in the subject matter is, from application and teachings from Islam and Buddhism to solve or to work with the crisis in ecology. So today's many of my people who participate in the conference, giving speech after speech and having question and answer. There are many the scholars from the Islam side as well as from the Buddhist side, but many of them are very much practical, practically what they are doing, using the Islam, teachings from the Quran. And then also there are several amazing nuns. Some are based in Malaysia, some are based in Taiwan and Thailand. They're really doing amazing things using the teachings, the Buddhist teachings. And there were two nuns. There are 4 or 5 nuns. 2 nuns coming from the Tibetan Buddhist background, but they are one is based in Malaysia, one is based in Taiwan. How they work, taking the bodhicitta, aspirational bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta as a starting point, but it said practically what we can do, and it is related to the environment and the ecology. And the work that they do was just amazing. So, the art, I'm not only, but, I thought I might be the only person in that group yesterday, in today's art talk yesterday, and I participate today. I thought constantly, I might be the only person just say blah, 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 but doing nothing in the ecology. So what we hear again, when we talk about purification, of course, we in the visualize, we will talk about visualization of Vajrasattva, we'll talk about purifying a visualization. And we need to think about practically what we can do. And I'm sure many of you do that. This morning, there is a professor from America. His name is David Lloyd. And his background is Buddhist background. He comes from Zen Buddhist background. And, I was very much, moved how he talked about taking Buddha's teachings, particularly, some of those Mahayana principles, taking into real action. So, and also he said, the term that he used, which I thought that's quite interesting, convert Buddhists. He didn't say Westerners, he said convert Buddhists. Mainly he was talking about those who are originally not forefathers not Buddhist, but he said, convert Buddhists, they do quite a lot in these things. So I thought, oh, that is true. Like us, born in Buddhist family and constantly talk, but not really taking into real practice. And that is really something here when we talk about purification, purifying our negativities, reducing some of those unhealthy mental habits, unhealthy physical habits, verbal habits. When we, of course, in the discussion or in the class, we talk about visualization, we talk about receiving blessings, but it is also important to think about, what can do practically, there is a nice, I shared this to the group, and this morning, related to one of the questions, and quite often this story comes in Lam Rim teachings, to when you clean your room, traditionally with the broom, when you clean the room, and while you are physically, cleaning your room, taking the dust, same time thinking, each broom you brush on the floor, each time you brush, thinking, I'm cleaning my afflictions, attachment, aversion, whatever, those unhealthy mental states are there, thinking that. I thought those are the very, nice story, very nice story. And here, I said, well, if we're doing recircle the things, whatever, same time thinking that, transforming something garbage into usable, some of those things can be recircled. So we need to think when we talk on this subject, it is also important to think practically what we can do in terms of the purification out of the traditionally explained, like prostration, like recitations. Those are helpful, useful, but at the same time to see what we can do practically to, part of our purification. That is something we need to think. If we do that, then, these practice will be very practical, same time, to work, to deal with what we need to be purified. So which is useful to remember. So now, during these 8 weeks, what I'm going to share with you, many of those points that I'm going to share, most of you already know this. These won't be new topics. This won't be something you haven't heard before. Most of these topics you have heard before. Not only you have heard before, but also, you practically do these things. So the points that I'm going to share, in monastery, the discipliner teacher, we change our discipliner teacher every year. So, during that 1 year, that discipliner teacher has to give, advice to the monks. Sometimes in the, debating yard, sometimes in the main gathering, and quite often the debating teacher, when he is going to give advice or instruction, he will say this nice statement, which is, I thought, quite nice. He will say the advice that I'm going to give, and among the monks who are listening, there are monks who have heard this for many times, but only have heard this many times, but also put into practice. And those senior monks should listen what my advice, my talk as a witness, because you already know, you already heard many times, you also put into practice. And what I'm going to say, you are like a witness between me and the newcomers. And the middle ones, who already have heard 1, 2, 3, 4 times, those monks should listen as something that you have heard before, but very vague what you have heard before. Those rules and regulations are still not very clear, but you have heard. So you should listen as something to remind you again, or recall the rules and regulations of the monastery when I give talk. And those newcomers should listen as something completely new and eager to learn new rules and regulations of the monastery. So, maybe there might be 1,500 monks, there in front of him. He will say this before he gave the advice or read the rules and regulations of the monastery. He will do once, sometimes twice a year, most once a year. That long reading, or sometimes by heart, rules and regulations of the monastery. So like that. And what I'm going to share with you during these 8 weeks, many of you, have heard these things many times, put into practice, but be here to participate, listen as a witness to the people, the relatively new practitioners. You have learned, you have put into practice, and it works, helpful, useful, and as a witness. And some of you have heard this, what I'm going to share, but still not very clear, but want to, and you can listen with something to refresh your, what you have heard before, or make it stronger, make it clearer to listen in that kind of way. And if there are people who are quite new, haven't listened at this purification practice, then you can listen as something beginner and to to learn something completely new. But I don't think there are people something completely new on the subject. And also, as you know, the Buddhist monasteries, particularly in the Tibetan traditions, at the top of the monastery, usually on the roof, at the middle there is a Dharma wheel, standing Dharma wheel, and right and left of the Dharma wheel there were two deers, and two deers are very attentively looking at the Dharma wheel. Their ears are very straight, and their face are looking up towards the Dharma wheel. That is really saying that when we listen the Dharma talk, the teachings, listen in that manner, in the manner of that kind of very pay full attention what is said. And that is what why at the roof of the monastery, why we have those two deers on the right and left and of the Dhamma wheel. Of course, Dhamma wheels represents the teachings of the Buddha. And those two gears represents us to listen the teachings and listen the teachings with very attentively, so that is some, anyway, we have set our motivations and, those things. So now, purification. Purification is, as you know, another term is used, compassing the negativities. These two are interchangeable, compassing or the purification. These two terms are interchangeable. In Tibetan, the compassing is what you call Dipa Shapa. Dipa is negativity. Shapa is compassing. So there it is very much, not concealing one's own, negativities, and not hiding, not concealing, not hiding. So revealing, acknowledging. In that sense, shapa, confessing. Or another term here in Tibetan, dipa jangwa. Jangwa, purify. It can be interchangeable. When we purify our negativities, there's also strong element of not concealing, not hiding the mistakes, the wrongdoings, and so on and so forth. So, but that practice, it seems not just unique in Buddhism. Almost all the world major religious tradition seems to have, this compassing or purification practice. In that sense, it is not unique. As in Christianity, you have that compassing, purification. In Islam, as we know, when people go to Hajj in Saudi Arabia, they have this throwing stones towards a pillar and purifying the negativities. So in that sense, it is not unique. And also in Hinduism, also have purification. So now here in Buddha Dhamma, as we all know, there is a Sutrayana teachings, not involve meditational deities, not involve mantra recitations, but Sutrayana, like the monastic, the Vinaya practice, mainly the individual, seeking individual liberation teachings belongs to that path, individual liberation path. In that tradition, there's also purification. Like, for example, ordained monks and nuns, twice a month, full moon day and new moon day, twice a month. There's this, right to perform, purification. So in that sense, it is pure in the sense Sutrayana, in the within the teachings of the Buddha, and also in the Bodhisattvayana teachings, not in the Vajrayana, Bodhisattvayana teachings. There's also purification practice. purifying the Bodhisattva vows, precepts that we have taken, some of those broken Bodhisattva vows to be, purified. There isn't that kind of set like the Vinaya, like the monastic, twice a month. There's not that kind of set but there are practices to purify the negativities related to the broken the Bodhisattva precepts or vows. So then here our subject belongs to the the Vajrayana, Buddhist Vajrayana teachings. So relation to the Buddhist Vajrayana teachings, and there's also purification practice or practices. So now either we do the purification practice purely in the Sutrayana teachings, or we do purification practice, relation to the Bodhisattvayana practice, or we do the purification practice relation to the Vajrayana practice. In which level? I will not say one is higher than the others. I will not say one is more profound than the others. That is not really, that kind of emphasis is not very helpful. It is really very much individuals, what you call the practice level. I will not say one is more powerful, one is more advanced than the others. I will not say that. But in which level that we do the purification practice, in which level, these 4 powers, which is translated in English, 4 powers. In Tibetan, Topshi, Nyembo Topshi. Nyembo means antidote. Antidote of 4 powers. 4 powers. Those are, equally same. Equally same in the sense needed. If we do purification practice, pure Sutrayana, teachings, like for example, fully ordained monks and nuns, twice a month when we do the purification practice, confessing, we need those 4 powers here, or from here, heart. Without those 4 powers, though physically I am with my Sangha members, verbally I will say all the the lines, all the recitations, but actual practice, actual purification is very much whether those 4 powers are present or not in my mental state or in my heart. And it is same if I do the purification practice with the relation to the Bodhisattvayana teachings. Bodhisattvayana teachings. Again, the recitation might be different from what I recite when I do twice a month with regard to the monastic precepts. And so what I recite in the Bodhisattvayana purification, the recitation might be is different from what I say in the monastic purification. But the requirement of these 4 powers is same. And it is same when I do purification relation to the Vajrayana practice. When I do the purification relation to the Vajrayana, I will have visualizations, I will have recitations, our mantra recitations. But again, all these must have those 4 powers. So we are going to talk a lot on these 4 powers. We are going to spend lots of our time on these 4 powers. I hope I will not disappoint you. You may think I'm going to say something completely new, which you haven't heard before in terms of doing purification. Most of those 4 powers we already know, we are already in a practice, but when we do the purification practice, these 4 powers must be present. So this is something I thought it is quite important to say that. And in terms of what kind of purification practice that we can do. For example, when Lama Tsongkhapa, this great master, 14th century, founder of the Gelug tradition, when Lama Tsongkhapa, he did his purification practice relation to 35 Buddha's name. 35 Buddha's name, then prostration, 35 Buddha's name, prostrations, and then, at the end, all the time, every time reciting the sutra called Pumbu Sumbe Do, sutra with the 3 heaps. Sutra with the 3 heaps. So saying the 35 Buddha's name one by one, making prostrations, then at the end saying the sutra which explains 3 heaps. Heaps, I don't know, 3 heaps. Pumbu Sumba. That's what he had done. That's what he had done. But some other masters have done differently, because, one of the most, well-known and widely used is Vajrasattva, rely on visualization of Vajrasattva and reciting Vajrasattva mantra and, perform the purification. Again, Vajrasattva visualization, single solitude figure, or with the consort, union, father and mother, like that. Or we can do Akshobhya, Buddha, Akshobhya visualization of Buddha Akshobhya, then reciting the Akshobhya mantra, as His Holiness Dalai Lama gave, I think maybe at least one, I remember, in Birmingham or Manchester. He gave Akshobhya, maybe 2 us, one in Glasgow and one in Manchester. And those are some of the last teachings that he gave in UK and Akshobhya. That is very powerful purification practice also. And so there are, it is up to the individuals. It is up to the individuals. And my point earlier that I mentioned, I will not say one is more performed higher than the others. I said I will not say one is more profound than the others, because we need to to perform these kind of purification practice should come from our heart. Not in a pure form of ritual, or not in a form of somebody have said to us, told us to do the purification. It should come from our heart. Which form of purification that we feel something effective, something helpful to reduce those unhelpful, mental states and the behavior use that purification. Use that purification. If the Vajrasattva, our text that we are going to read is Vajrasattva. And as I said just a few seconds ago, I'm going to focus mainly on those four powers, not that much on the visualizations, not that much on the what you call the mantra. It's the mantra station, but we need some reference. So our reference means the text that we are going to use, deity that we are going to visualize, is going to be the Vajrasattva. My explanation will be something that we can use purification. All these three different, teachings. Sutrayana, if we do, people who are happy to stay with the Sutrayana level of the teachings, at that level, we can do the purification. And people who go, Bodhisattva in the teachings and happy with stay just that level, Bodhisattva energy, to do the purification. And the people who want to do the Vajrayana a purification. So therefore, most of the time we are going to spend our time to talk about the four powers. Now the four powers are, as in the text, in the text that talk about the four powers. First we will look at today briefly with that. Power of reliance. Sometimes I use power of foundation or power of base to really, from our heart, to perform, purification, or to perform, confessing our negativities, downfalls. What we need a very sound, foundation, mental level, very sound foundation, base. And here the term is used, reliance, in Tibetan, it is called ten. Ten can be base, foundation. To is the what you call the tower. That is how here translated. Thank you. So today my computer is not really functioning properly. Okay. It is very strange. Anyway, I can't open that. So that is the first one. First, today we'll look at those, the four powers. Then the power of reliance. So in there, what is involved? What is involved is it involves developing, cultivating a strong, positive mental states. Strong, positive mental states. Quite often, and also here the text is done, in this case, holding the bodhicitta, holding the refuge, which are these mental states are very, very, powerful, very, very positive mental state. Using them as the base, as the foundation to perform the purification, which we will come later. Why, the refuge and bodhicitta are the, work as a base or the foundation to perform the purification, which will come, coming days. So then the second one is power of regret or remorse, which is again a very, very important element, an important element. And here, again, very much what is involved to feel deep sense of regret, deep sense of remorse, or what is involved is acknowledgement and understanding the mistakes or those unhealthy mental states and actions which are motivated by those unhealthy mental states. And the result of those actions, physical or verbal or mental actions, the result of those actions really involves good understanding of that kind of process. Then to develop deep sense of regret, remorse, but at the same time have the full mental strength, mental confidence, that can be changed, that can be, transformed, that can be changed. These can be purified. Remorse, yet there isn't a sense of hopeless or helpless, but it have a deep sense of, confidence. These mistakes, these unhealthy actions, mental states can be transformed, can be purified, can be eradicated. So that kind of understanding, remorse or regret. And these are very common sense. These are very common sense. If we want to change some of our mistakes, first we need to acknowledge that these are mistakes. And also same time, not just understanding, we need to understand, the mistakes have, unhelpful consequences, undesirable consequences. Isn't it? These are very much common sense. Common sense. So therefore, this second, what you call the power, and here, involve very much the understanding of the law of cause and effect. Law of cause and effect. For example, the teachings in the Lam Rim, where emphasis in the small scope and the middle scope, the understanding the law of cause and effect or karma and karmic result and their relationship. That understanding is very much in the part of the second, what you call the second power, to build the second power of regret, that level of understanding in the teaching of Lam Rim or any other teachings that talk about law of cause and effect, all the different layers. Some are very much immediate, some are something a little bit later, some are very many lifetimes. Though the causes are created right here and now, the result might be in many lifetimes. Either they are positive or they are negative. Some causes are created right here and now. Result may experience few decades or few years back later. Again, positive or negative. So here in the second, the power of regret to be developed, strong power of regret to be cultivated, that levels of teaching is very, very important. Otherwise, we just talk about, the power of regret, but certainly how power of regret will occur, difficult. I remember one time, I was leading a retreat, Vajrasattva retreat in Jamyang in London, and there was a lady. I think I've seen her several times before she came to that Vajrasattva weekend retreat, and suddenly she asked a question. We usually do afternoon, say, first session, have a little bit question and answer. And she asked, "Oh, Geshe, I don't have any regret. How can I develop regret to do the purification? Because I don't feel any deep sense of regret." And I totally understand why she is saying that. I totally understand that. Because, sometimes when we talk about negativities, non-virtues, what kind of negativities? You need to search. That sort of things. And it is, but when we really to understand that levels of Dharma, the teaching in the law of cause and effect, karma, then we'll have the develop deep sense of regret. Yet in that process, yet still there is a strong sense of, the confidence. This can be changed. This can be transformed. So this second heading, which we talk detail in the coming days. Then the third one, which is the actual antidote, the power of antidote, Nyembeto in Tibetan. The second one in Tibetan, Tenjito, Gyobeto, Gyoba is regret. And third one is power of antidote. And there it is involved actual purification. Actual purification in the third. And here really physically, verbally, and mentally involves, applying the actual antidote. Actual antidote. Though in the meditation, like in the Vajrasattva, at that section, we will see the recitation of Vajrasattva mantra. If we understand the full meaning of the mantra, and if we have meaning of the mantra in our mental continuum, it makes sense. Recitation of mantra and the meaning of mantra is in here, in our mental continuum. Then we will say, oh, yeah, that is the actual antidote. What we need, the actual antidote, is really very much cultivating either in our mental continuum or in the physical or in the verbal, opposite to those unhealthy mental attitude, unhealthy physical activities, unhealthy verbal activities. We need to bring the opposite of that. And that is not easy. It is not easy to bring, what you call the, love, to deal with the anger, hatred. We all know the antidote of anger or hatred is love. But it is not easy to bring that, isn't it? And that is the actual purification. So third, out of the four powers, the third power is really the actual application of the purification. Other part, the first power, the power of reliance, and the second power, the power of regret, And the fourth power, power of determination, not to engage, not to have those unhealthy attitudes or behavior again. Those are the, I would say, the cooperative causes, cooperative conditions. The main, the antidote is the third one. Power of antidote, it is called Nyembe-to in Tibetan. So here then, almost entire teaching, if we look at it from the Lam Rim's point of view, from the first topic to the last topic is needed in here, at the third power, the power of antidote. For example, many of us, are very much attached, very much attached to samsaric joys, samsaric happiness. I'm not saying not to enjoy samsaric happiness, samsaric joys. Of course, we should enjoy, but we are not just enjoy, we are very much attached to the samsaric joys and happiness. Somebody sent me Christmas pudding, photo of Christmas pudding. And that person knows I like very much Italian, that rich Christmas pudding. Some of you know this well. Sometimes, not every winter Christmas, but sometimes before Christmas or during, mainly before Christmas in the winter, Jamyang we can retreat, then put instead of making certain offerings, just buy the Christmas pudding. And, not the latter part, in the earlier part, I go, because the Tesco is not very far from Jamyang. So I go to do the shopping for the shrine. And I'll buy those Christmas pudding. And I try to not to have an intention to buy, because I like those Christmas puddings, because Buddha will not eat the Christmas pudding, although it will put on the shrine. So, so we have this, not just we enjoy, but we have attachment. And to really to deal with the attachment to the samsara, we need to bring entire teachings in the middle, small and middle scopes in Lam Rim. Then we will have, like that. So application of actual antidote, although it is simple to recite the Vajrasattva mantra, and if we really, truly, completely able to apply the meaning of Vajrasattva mantra, then in there, I think almost entire Lam Rim teaching is there. But we are unable to do that. So what I'm talking about here is, to do the purification practice, we have to have those 4 powers. And in those 4 powers, although it just says the power of reliance, power of regret, power of antidote, power of determination, seems very straightforward, very simple. But to really to fully and completely to apply the power of antidote, we have to have good, rich, deep understanding of the teachings, Dharma. Then we are able to apply. Then purification will work. And the same, the 4th one, the power of determination, power of determination. Again, really to develop from the heart that determination not to repeat the same mistakes again and again, to have that again, the understanding of the law of cause and effect is very, very crucial, very, very crucial. And also understanding of living beings' needs, living beings' great kindness, and also understanding of, what you call one's own involvement with the living beings. Then we'll have, determination not to commit again. But again, it is not easy. I know there are people who are addicted with certain substances, with certain things, and they understand using those certain substances are very destructive for their own life, for their family lives, but difficult to restrain not to using them. Maybe part of the physically they need, and also the habituated, habits become habits, and physically may demand some of those powerful drugs. People who are, I'm just using that in analogies or examples. So what I'm saying here is to really to build determination again requires a sort of good understanding, good what you call the understanding of teachings of the Dhamma. So anyway, those are the 4 powers that we are going to talk quite a lot during this program while we are reading the Vajrasattva Purification. So today, now is approaching to, we have been close to 1.5 hours. So we will I will stop here by reciting 21 para prayers and some of those dedications. Om Je Ma Pama Droma La Cha Tse Chanze Droma Nyuma Pa Jene Geje Lo Danda Jigden Songgon Chuji She Kesa Chewa Leni Jung Chanze Tongge Tawa Gun Tawa Jene Zigbe She Kama Tongda Soba Namanji Rabdo Chewe Rambara Chanze Sengwe Chuni De Peme Chani Nambara De Jeba Zundu Kadu Shewa Saba Samden Juni Chanze Deshin Shebe Zodo Tae Nambara Jawa Che Malu Paru Jimba To Jawe Sedi Shindu Den Chanze Doda Raho Yege Doda Choka Namka Jigde Dobo Shabdi Nende Doba Mepa Guba Ne Chanze Jaji Mela Tsamba Nula Natso Wanchu Che Jombo Rana Tisa Namanda Nijun Tsoki Dune De Chanze Jeje Chadam Peji Paru Choku Rabdo Jong Ebo Yenda Shabdi Nende Mepara Choba Shindo Param Chanze Duri Jigwa Chenbo Duji Pao Nambara Jong Chuji Shane Chonye Denze Dao Tamje Malu Se Chanze Kunjo Somze Chaji Seme Toga Nambara Jem Malu Choji Kolo Jembe Rangi Veji Tsonoma Choma Chanze Rabdo Gawa Jebe Ujin Veji Tenwa Pem Shiva Rapshi Duda Rai Dudan Jikden Wangdo Zem Chanze Sashi Jongwe Chom Tamje Buba Numa Nyem Chonye Yewa Yebe Hongi, Pumba Tamje Nabara Doma, Chanze Dawe Dombo Udi, Yemba Tamje Shindo Parama, Rebe Trene Vabane, Tabara Shindo Verabuzema, Chanze Keve Tamane, Barwe Tingwe Vene, Yejang Yongumukune Koke, Daye Pune Nabara Chon, Chanze Sashi Mala Chagi, Teji Nijin Shabje Dong, Chonye Chenze Yege Hongi, Rimba Dumbo Namne Gema, Chanze Dema Gema Shema, Nyange Deshin Ju Nima, Soa Onda Yanda Dembe, Dipa Chenbo Jomba Nima, Chanze Kune Koro Gave, Daye Lune Nambara Gema, Ige Jube Mane Kube, Ripa Hongle Joma Nima, Chanze Turi Shamni Dade, Honge Nabe Sabe Nima, Rera Menda Rata Deje, Jigde Sumna Yewa Nima, Chanze Haye Soye Nande, Reta Taje Chana Nama, Tara Nije Pede Yege, Dena Malu Pane Sema, Chanze Haye Sonoma Kebo, Tada Miam Chi Dema, Kune Kocha Kawa Jige, Zeda Melama Nyeba Sema, Chanze Nima Dawa Jebe, Jinye Bola Verab Sema, Hara Niju Dudarai, Shindo Tapurim Ne Sema, Chanze Tini Sumnam Kube, Shive Tudan Yanda Dema, Deda Rola Nijin Sona, Jomba Ture Rapcho Nima, Zawe Madi Deba Dida, Chanze Wane Niju Zaje. Gewa de jiwo ge, shenama ye she co zo shen, shenama ye she le chung we, tamba kunye tobara sho. Chanjo semcho rinpoche, ma je panama je yo je, jeba nyamba meba ya. Kone Kondo Pewan Kare Rave Korve Shinkamandere Penda Deva Malu Jungene Chere Sewa Tenzin Jato Ye Shabe Sede Bado Tenjoro Je. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very nice to see you here again.
Thank you ever so much.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.